A humble young woman allowed a mysterious man and his son to stay for one night, not realizing he was an extremely wealthy executive. "Step back from the entrance," Mia shouted, her tone laced with anxiety as she gripped the metal rod firmly in both hands. "Please," a male voice pleaded from outside, drowned out by the fierce gusts and blizzard. "I'm not here to cause any harm. I simply need a secure spot for my boy." Mia's pulse raced. Through the frosted pane, she spotted the outline of a broad-shouldered figure hunched over a tinier form. A kid. Flurries swirled around them in dense sheets. Her grip tightened on the handle. "I don't allow unknown people into my home," she stated sharply. "Particularly not males." There was a brief pause. Then the voice returned, gentler and more urgent. "I get it. I wouldn't request this if there were alternatives. He's ill. He's shivering. We only require a single evening to escape the tempest." Mia pondered briefly. The chill had begun seeping through the aged timber barriers of the lodge. Electricity had failed 60 minutes prior, and the hearth was the sole barrier against the sitting area, turning frigid. She checked her mobile device. No connection, nobody to contact. Just her and now, these visitors. She peered through the spy hole once more. The man shifted, revealing a little boy nestled in his embrace. The youngster hacked harshly, the noise piercing and distressing. That sealed her choice. With a noisy groan from the ancient hinges, Mia swung open the entrance. Snow rushed inward immediately, numbing her feet through her footwear. The man advanced just sufficiently for her to observe him clearly. He was lofty, drenched entirely, his locks plastered to his brow. The lad in his hold had his visage concealed in the man's overcoat, his frame trembling. "Enter swiftly," Mia muttered, moving aside. "Appreciate it." The man responded with a gesture, transporting the boy indoors. She shut and secured the portal behind them. "Position yourselves near the hearth. Avoid handling anything else." The man complied, tenderly placing the boy on the worn settee and removing his jacket to drape it over the child. Mia observed warily, still clutching the rod. "Your identity?" she inquired sternly. "Ethan," he answered. "And this is Noah. He's 6 years old. He has a cough. Likely the influenza. What do you believe?" She snorted. "You're dragging a kid through a blizzard. That's incredibly reckless." Ethan gazed downward, smoothing damp strands from Noah's temple. "We lacked other options." Mia hesitated, then headed to the cooking area. "I possess dry cloths and quick broth." "That's it." He nodded silently, expressing gratitude as she returned with the items. He accepted them graciously and started delicately drying the boy with a parent's serene attentiveness. Mia monitored from the opposite side of the space, her limbs folded rigidly across her torso. She despised this, the unanticipated arrivals, the painful recollections. 12 months earlier, she had trusted an individual who rapped on her entrance with gentle gazes and forfeited nearly all. Now, this outsider occupied her dwelling. "What brings you here regardless?" she questioned. "There's nobody for several kilometers. The blizzard has dominated broadcasts for days." Ethan lifted his gaze, his orbs a profound hue of exhaustion. "I am to transport Noah to his grandma's residence 2 villages distant. The path sealed after us. We became trapped. Then the vehicle failed." She examined him in the glow of the flames. He appeared ordinary, not threatening, yet not fully transparent either. There was a concealed element in his expression, something unspoken. But the lad. Noah hacked feebly once more. Mia exhaled sharply and proceeded to the cooking area. "Vegetable broth it is," she grumbled. Shortly after, she delivered 2 hot cups to the flames. Ethan thanked her quietly. She handed the child's cup straight to him, then settled on the distant end of the space. The ensuing quiet was weighty, yet not hostile. Merely the noise of the flames snapping, the sporadic ting of a utensil on a vessel, and the gale roaring externally. Noah gradually dozed off, his skull on Ethan's thigh. Mia gazed into the embers, compelling herself to remain vigilant. "You needn't fear," Ethan murmured softly. "I'm not afraid," she retorted, although her tone wavered. "You're permitting two unknowns into your residence. I'd call you courageous. Or perhaps unwise," she grinned faintly. "I'd echo that to you." Ethan chuckled gently. It marked the initial instance the space felt warmer. "One evening," she asserted firmly. "Come dawn, the tempest ought to ease, then you depart." Ethan agreed. "One evening, that's our sole requirement." She glanced at the boy's slumbering countenance, then back at the man cradling him so tenderly. For the initial occasion and extended period, she pondered if unlocking the entrance had been an error, or the premier correct action she had undertaken in years. The gale wailed externally like an agitated spirit, rattling the panes of the modest lodge. The electricity was now entirely absent. The flames in the hearth danced with subdued vigor, projecting amber silhouettes on the partitions. Mia ignited two antique tapers she had stashed in a galley compartment, their lights flickering as she set them on the surface between her and Ethan. The broth had cooled somewhat, but the heat lingered. Noah had only consumed a few gulps before drifting off again, enveloped in garments and covers on the settee. His respiration remained irregular, but slower now, more consistent. Mia sat on the ground by the flames, her legs drawn beneath her, palms encircling a vessel with a nick. Ethan sat facing her, his own cup in grasp, his features partially illuminated by the glow. He seemed less imposing in the taper light, like an everyday individual, weary but composed. "He adores vegetable broth," Ethan remarked after an extended, hushed instant, gesturing toward his offspring. He laughed gently. "Apologies, it's routine. His mom, she departed a few years back. But whenever I prepared vegetable broth for Noah, I always claimed it was because she would have as well." Mia glanced at the boy, her expression mellowing. "He's charming, well-mannered." "I endeavor," Ethan stated, then averted his gaze. "He's my everything." There was a vulnerable quality in his tone that prompted Mia to adjust slightly. She wasn't accustomed to that. Most males she had encountered, especially those appearing amid tempests, concealed truths behind their allure. But Ethan wasn't attempting to captivate her. He was simply present and sincere. "I'm regretful about his mom," she expressed. "Thanks." He encountered her stare, and for an instant, the flames popped between them like a span gradually forming. Mia rose. "I have a fresh cover in the rear. I'll retrieve it." She traversed the corridor over the groaning timber planks into her storage nook. She halted when she grasped for her plushest cover, the one her grandma had crafted years prior. It was cream with minuscule green blooms. She seldom utilized it, maintained it neatly stacked at the summit of the heap. She exhaled, then retrieved it. Upon returning to the sitting area, she halted abruptly in the threshold. Ethan was positioned on the ground beside Noah. The youngster was semi-conscious, groaning faintly. Ethan, unaware of her presence, immersed a fabric into a container of liquid, then meticulously wrung it. With deliberate, experienced motions, he softly applied the cool fabric to Noah's brow, murmuring to him so faintly, Mia couldn't discern the phrases. The fabric, it was hers. One of the final, pristine, ivory handcloths she had stored away, apart from the rest. She observed as Ethan rinsed the fabric anew, cleansed Noah's face, then precisely folded the cloth and positioned it by the container. Then he arose, proceeded to the galley, and cleansed the fabric meticulously before restoring it to its location, folded precisely as she had arranged it. He never noticed her observing. Mia gazed down at the comforter in her embrace, then gradually re-entered the space. "Here," she uttered softly, presenting it. Ethan pivoted, somewhat startled. "This is lovely." "It's cozy," she responded, "and spotless." He accepted it, his fingers momentarily contacting hers. "Thanks." She resumed her seat by the flames, but this occasion a bit nearer. For the initial instance in a prolonged time, the space felt complete, not merely with individuals, but with something additional, with essence, with tranquility. As Ethan resettled beside his offspring again, arranging the cover over the boy's petite form, he glanced at Mia. "You weren't obligated to admit us," he murmured gently. "I know," she replied. "You weren't required to nourish us or provide your finest cover or feign not to be anxious." She regarded him, her tone scarcely audible. "I'm not feigning." He grinned subtly but genuinely. "Nonetheless," he stated, "appreciate everything. I won't overlook this evening." Neither uttered anything thereafter. The flames snapped, the gale roared, but amid the tempest, the tiny lodge shimmered faintly, and for one evening, warmth triumphed. The snowfall hadn't ceased. By daybreak, the exterior realm was blanketed beneath a dense pale layer. The lanes were obscured under the blizzard. Branches curved under the burden of flakes, and even the dim imprints from the prior night had vanished. Mia ventured onto the veranda, bundled in a heavy overcoat, and surveyed the heavens. Not but pale. Reports indicate the district may not plow the paths until tomorrow, she mentioned as she re-entered the lodge. Ethan raised his head from where he was spooning warm broth to Noah. "Then we're immobilized," she affirmed. "An additional evening minimally." He encountered her gaze. "Apologies. It's not your doing," she remarked, though her tone carried a hint of fatigue. "Let's optimize it." That day, they adopted a pattern neither anticipated. Ethan proposed to split logs, wielding the hatchet with precise, adept force behind the lodge. Mia, astonished by his vigor and accuracy, observed from the pane before returning to the galley. She prepared fresh batter for rolls and initiated a cauldron of homemade vegetable soup, the aroma of herbs and onions permeating the space. When a drip emerged near the rear entrance, Ethan repaired it with implements he loaned from her aged outbuilding, ascending a wobbly stool with cautious grips. He mended the pivot on the sleeping chamber entrance unprompted and reinforced the garment peg near the ingress, grinning when Mia arched a brow. "You're adept with tools," she observed. "Decades of repairing what I couldn't finance to substitute," he responded. Noah's hack persisted through the forenoon. His temple felt heated again. Mia didn't waver. She brewed herbal tea with sweetener, cooled it appropriately, and supported the cup for him to drink. She moistened a fabric with tepid liquid, assessing his heat with delicate digits. When he grew fidgety, she retrieved a worn, cherished stuffed animal from a container in her sleeping chamber. She sat adjacent to him on the settee, murmuring tales as she patted his face. "It's fine, dear," she whispered, stroking his locks. "We'll restore your health." Ethan, observing silently from the galley, remained mute, but his mandible clenched. He was habituated to managing all, serving as parent and guardian, defender and sustainer. Viewing Mia tend to Noah with such gentleness evoked something profound within him. She bore no obligation, no motive. Yet there she was, crouching on the firm ground beside a lad not her own, humming faintly to herself while removing perspiration from his brow. Later that afternoon, while Mia fetched additional covers, Ethan positioned at the sleeping chamber entrance and watched. She was seated on the ground next to Noah's bed, his tiny palm clasped tenderly in both of hers. She was crooning a bedtime song, perhaps one from her youth. The stuffed animal was nestled beside him. Her auburn tresses cascaded forward as she bent to touch her palm to his temple again. Each gesture brimmed with concern and attentiveness. Ethan's throat constricted. He averted before she could perceive the sting in his eyes. That twilight, as the gale wailed externally and the lodge radiated with flame glow, the trio assembled in the sitting area. Mia narrated a legend, something about a valiant lady who tamed a blizzard with mere compassion. Her tone waltzed through the space, and Noah applauded upon conclusion. Ethan fashioned creatures from creased paper remnants, his efforts awkward but endearing. Noah chortled as a paper deer with lopsided horns toppled. Then Noah extracted a tiny notepad and some tinted markers Mia had provided him. He sketched rapidly, his tongue protruding in intense focus. Upon completion, he ripped the sheet and displayed it proudly. "This is you," he declared, indicating an auburn-haired shape. Unlocking the entrance, the illustration depicted a flake-blanketed lodge. A lofty man and a small lad stood externally. A female, Mia, swung open the entrance, amber radiance beaming behind her. He affixed it to the partition with a sliver of residual adhesive strip. "This is my alternate residence," he proclaimed. Mia stared at the sketch, speechless. Ethan regarded her, not with appreciation this time, but with something profounder. The manner her digits combed Noah's locks, the affection she infused into all she did, her subdued resilience. He grinned, and for the initial instance in a very prolonged time, he sensed the fragile, frightening origins of something he had not permitted himself to experience in years. Optimism. The tempest had dissipated. The sun ascended feebly behind vapors, casting a metallic sheen over the flake-cloaked branches. Mia stood at the lodge's threshold, already attired in her dense overcoat and shawl, her labor footwear producing a gentle crunch on the veranda. The atmosphere remained biting with chill, but transparent enough that the lanes might ultimately be cleared. Internally, Ethan and Noah were still slumbering, huddled together on the settee, respiring faintly in the dawn illumination. Mia lingered at the entrance. She desired to utter something, anything, inquire if they would remain upon her return, propose another evening, but the phrases weighed in her larynx. This was her premier labor period in days, and she couldn't afford absence. So she ensured the flames were robust, surplus timber by the hearth, and a brief message on the galley surface. "Return by 4, feel welcome." By the moment she arrived at the village's cafe, where she labored intermittently, her musings had incessantly drifted to them. Each instance the chime above the primary entrance tinkled, she glanced up, but it was never Ethan, never Noah. When her period concluded, she nearly sprinted to board the transport back toward the forest. The heavens were shifting to amber by the time she reached her lodge. The veranda was silent. No imprints in the fresh flake stratum. No chuckles from within. Her spirit plummeted. She thrust the entrance ajar. The flames had diminished, but persisted. The covers were arranged tidily. The vessels in the basin were cleansed and draining. The space was immaculate, almost pristine. They had departed. A keen sting expanded in her bosom. On the eating surface rested a creased sheet anchored by something diminutive and sleek. She approached gradually. The sheet was pale green, faintly ruled. Her name wasn't inscribed, but she recognized it was for her. She unfolded it. Gratitude for the coziness, for the compassion, for demonstrating that individuals like you persist in existence. I'll eternally recall it. There was no endorsement, just a phrase beneath scripted and milder, almost tentative penmanship. You assisted more than you realize. Adjacent to the message lay a dark card. No designation, no financial institution, just a solitary tiny chip and a sequence of digits. She lifted it, her pulse thumping. It was denser than a standard payment card. Sleek, enigmatic. A dark card, the type solely affluent individuals possessed. She gazed at it, stunned. Perplexity arose first, then skepticism, then something indefinable. She placed it down gradually and sat on the settee's rim where Ethan had sat the previous evening, narrating tales to his offspring. Her digits clenched the message. He had vanished without farewell, without clarification, without her opportunity to express what had begun burgeoning in her bosom. She hadn't anticipated such anguish. She assumed she would sense alleviation, room to respire, her dwelling restored to her. But instead, she experienced a vacant throb, like someone had unlocked a portal in her heart and escaped before she comprehended their entry. Her orb stung. The lodge was hushed, and for the initial instance in a prolonged time, Mia wept, not from dread, not from agony, but from the pang of yearning for something she had never foreseen discovering, and uncertain if she would ever encounter it anew. The subsequent dawn, Mia queued at the sole financial institution in the village, the enigmatic dark card clutched firmly in her overcoat compartment. Her exhalation formed mist on the glass portals as she awaited admission. The whole journey there, her intellect had battled internally. One segment urged utilization. The other clung steadfastly to the one attribute she had always cherished, dignity. When her turn arrived, she neared the counter with hesitant strides. "I discovered this," she stated, positioning the card delicately on the surface. "I merely wished to identify its owner." The clerk offered her an odd glance, but inputted several digits. After moments, her brows elevated mildly. "This is a confidential profile," the lady remarked cautiously. "No identity publicly connected. Highly elite level. I can't disclose particulars, but whoever entrusted you with this must have immense faith in you." "I don't desire the funds," Mia stated promptly. "I'm not here to employ it. I needed to understand." The lady nodded gradually and returned the card across the counter. Mia departed with more inquiries than resolutions, and she stowed the card in a compartment. Never accessed, never contacted. Days evolved into weeks. Flakes commenced thawing. The gusts grew milder, and the evenings became calmer. Mia resumed her customary existence, mending the lodge, laboring at the bookstore 2 days weekly, accepting extra periods at the cafe when possible, but all seemed dimmer. The echo of mirth from that blustery evening lingered with her, as did the vision of a raven-haired man seated by the flames, crafting paper creatures for his offspring. She discovered herself awakening amid the night, staring at the entrance, half anticipating a rap. Then one Tuesday forenoon, everything crumbled. She reached the modest village bookstore only to discover a notice affixed to the entrance. "Shut permanently, funding withdrawn." Internally, her supervisor was packaging the final volumes. "I'm deeply sorry, Mia," the lady expressed, scarcely able to meet her gaze. "They ceased backing remote sites. There's naught we can achieve." She trudged home that day with numb limbs. Each stride felt weightier than the prior. 2 occupations lost in under 3 months. No kin, no reserve, and the expenses were already accumulating. By week's conclusion, her timber stack was dwindling. The cooler was partially vacant. Her reserves dipped below $20. She attempted vending handmade items digitally, even her vintage writing machine, but nothing succeeded. The quiet in the lodge intensified daily. Then arrived the correspondence. It came on a Thursday afternoon, inserted under her entrance in a substantial, pale green envelope. Her name was penned manually in orderly, meticulous characters. She unsealed it gradually. Inside was a solitary page missive imprinted on fine stationery. "Dear Miss Mia Johnson, we are delighted to request you for a confidential discussion regarding the freshly launched neighborhood support initiative within Summit Enterprises. We seek individuals with exceptional integrity, firm principles, and demonstrated benevolence. Your name was personally recommended. Please attend our urban headquarters at the specified time. Transportation has been organized for you. Regards, Ethan R., Chief Executive Officer, Summit Enterprises." Her palms trembled. She perused it repeatedly. Ethan. She collapsed heavily on the settee's edge, the identical location where he had once positioned beside Noah. She pressed the correspondence to her bosom, inhaling profoundly. He recollected, and he had located her. She didn't comprehend what this discussion entailed, or why presently, or why, after this duration, he had extended contact. But one aspect was evident. Her narrative with Ethan was not concluded yet. Mia positioned in the foyer of the gleaming crystal edifice, the buff stone floors mirroring her footwear, still stained with dirt from the woodland path. The overhead extended lofty above her, adorned with amber illumination, and the individuals around her proceeded with subdued intent in tailored outfits and polished footwear. She felt like an outsider in an alien locale. Clutching the summons correspondence in one palm, she approached the reception counter. I have a meeting with Summit Enterprises. My name is Mia Johnson. Yes, Miss Johnson, the lady concluded, beaming warmly. We've anticipated you. Please proceed to the elevator for the 32nd level. Mr. Reynolds will greet you there personally. Mia blinked. Mr. Reynolds. Yes, the receptionist affirmed, already notifying someone via her headset. He's the executive head. She entered the lift, heart throbbing. The digits above the portals ascended. Each level evoked a reminiscence. Noah chortling by the flames. Ethan presenting her broth, his tone expressing gratitude in the hush of a flake-blanketed evening. When the portals parted, the area before her was serene, refined. A lady in a navy gown courteously directed and escorted her to a spacious bureau with transparent partitions, and there he was. Ethan stood near the pane, lofty and composed in a charcoal ensemble. His rear faced her, but as she advanced, he pivoted. Their gazes connected. Time halted momentarily. He grinned, warm, stable, recognizable. Mia. She inhaled. Ethan. He advanced, palms relaxed at his flanks. He appeared identical, yet altered, more robust somehow, more commanding, but with the identical subdued benevolence in his orbs. I pondered if you'd arrive, he stated. You summoned me. She responded, her tone mild. I aspired you'd accept, he uttered gently, then indicated the modest seating zone near the pane. Please settle. She sat in the cushioned chair, grasping the arms mildly. He proceeded to an adjacent ledge, extracted a flat binder, and presented it to her. Inside was a solitary sheet, a youngster's illustration. The lodge in the flakes, a lofty man, a small lad, and an auburn-haired female unlocking the entrance. Her orbs widened. You preserved it, she murmured. I claimed it. Ethan confessed. That dawn, I knew Noah would desire me to. He labeled you our guardian that evening. I wish to retain a fragment of what that evening signified. She raised her gaze to him. Ethan sat opposite her now, inclining forward. I didn't reveal my identity. I didn't intend to appear that evening, but I've devoted the month since determining how to reciprocate something irreparable. Mia shook her head gradually. I didn't perform anything extraordinary. You provided us refuge, dignity. You granted Noah comfort and security when we possessed neither. And you bestowed me something I believed I had forfeited eternally. He paused. Aspiration. She remained silent, her palms clenching the illustration. Ethan proceeded, his tone firm. I once thought the sole method to construct something enduring was via authority, dominance. But you illustrated what genuine fortitude resembles. Subdued, valiant, compassionate. I initiated a scheme, societal assistance, learning, countryside support, all derived from that single evening. He arose and approached his workstation, retrieving another binder. And I desire you to direct it. Mia blinked. Me? He affirmed. You've experienced it. You comprehend what it signifies to offer without anticipating reciprocity. That's the leadership I seek. She gazed down at the binder in her lap, then back at him. Her tone quivered. This isn't regarding funds, is it? Ethan grinned. No, it never was. She regarded him. This man who had once sat beside flames in footwear and plaid, who had now proffered her not merely employment, but a role in the narrative he continued composing. And she affirmed. I'll undertake it, she stated. Not for the designation, not for the bureau, but because in his orbs she perceived something she hadn't witnessed in her own image for a prolonged time. Intent and because she trusted him not merely as an executive, but as the man who had once murmured thanks in the obscurity and intended every syllable. The ensuing weeks progressed with a subdued cadence, but each day drew Mia and Ethan nearer. Their fresh scheme under Summit Enterprises, titled the Welcoming Path Program, concentrated on providing enduring housing, career preparation, and youth supervision for lone guardians and those lacking residences. The foundation was constructed around the concept Mia had unwittingly demonstrated the evening she unlocked her lodge entrance that benevolence, without stipulations, transforms existences. In every conference chamber, every location inspection, every late-hour message trade, they stood adjacent. They debated vigorously. Ethan was pragmatic and oriented on outcomes. Mia was empathetic and fiercely defensive of each individual's perspective. Occasionally they clashed, but they invariably heeded and ultimately discovered a path ahead that possessed both sincerity and soul. Mia had never felt more authentically perceived. Each dawn, a beverage awaited on her workstation precisely as she preferred. 2 sweeteners, no dairy, spice atop. Ethan never commented on it, but she observed each occasion. Certain evenings they labored deep into the night, examining strategies, deliberating intricate specifics. Other evenings he would escort her to her vehicle in quiet, their arms sporadically brushing in the gloom. Still no utterances about what was burgeoning between them. Merely glances that endured in deeds that signified more than either ventured to articulate vocally. Then arrived the celebration, a grand communal gathering hosted at the organization's primary site, a repurposed storage facility now serving as a contemporary interim dwelling hub. Contributors, journalists, municipal authorities, and heads from charitable organizations packed the venue. Mia, in a plain navy gown, delivered an address about the evening. Everything shifted about flame, glow, and broth, and a lad with a temperature. She didn't reference Ethan by designation, but the instant she descended the platform, a journalist halted her. Some claim your swift ascent within Summit Enterprises stems from a private connection with Mr. Reynolds. Can you affirm or refute that your position results from partiality? Mia stiffened. She inhaled sharply. Her palms quivered mildly, but she remained resolute. I was granted this role based on. She never completed. Ethan advanced calmly, but with evident purpose. His tone balanced as he addressed the modest assembly that had congregated. If I may, he stated, placing a firm palm on Mia's spine. Then, without deliberation, he tenderly clasped her palm in his and pivoted to the venue. The lady beside me altered my life's trajectory, he declared, his tone revealing something profounder than mere protection. When I possessed nothing, no authority, no rank, she proffered me and my offspring refuge without demanding anything reciprocally. He regarded Mia, and something transpired between them that silenced even the most skeptical journalist. She didn't perceive an executive or a man of influence. She perceived 2 individuals in necessity and unlocked her entrance. He turned back to the assembly. All we've constructed here originated from that instant. And if this organization has accomplished anything positive since, it's due to her spirit. Quiet descended, then ovation. Mia gazed down at their linked palms, still warm, still firm. She had no notion when he'd grasped her, or why her heart felt poised to erupt from something overly abundant to contain. Later that evening, when the illuminations dimmed and the attendees had departed, they stood solitary in the venue's center. You weren't required to declare all that, she murmured. Ethan regarded her, his orbs tender. Yes, I was. And for the initial instance, he didn't release. Winter revisited gently. The flakes descended like gentle fabric, enveloping the evergreen branches and curving paths with serene elegance. At the terminus of one such path stood the aged lodge, no longer overlooked, now meticulously restored. Its fundamental framework remained identical, its essence intact, cozy, uncomplicated, anticipating. Ethan had summoned Mia and Noah for the weekend. After a year of collaborating, erecting refuges, initiating schemes, and mastering each other's manners, it felt appropriate. Still, Mia hadn't known their destination until the ultimate bend. She inhaled sharply upon sighting it. The lodge stood like a recollection revived. Her footwear crunched on the newly leveled stairs. The primary entrance still emitted a groaning noise. Evergreen and spice scents lingered in the atmosphere, just as she recalled. And above the hearth, meticulously positioned in a transparent casing, hung Noah's illustration of an auburn-haired female unlocking her entrance to a man and his offspring in the flakes. "You preserved it," she murmured. Ethan grinned softly. It was the premier location Noah termed home anew. The weekend unfurled tenderly. They prepared meals together in the compact galley, now vibrant with mirth. Melodies played faintly from devices Ethan had installed. Noah darted from space to space like he had eternally belonged, inquiring if they could remain perpetually. That evening, post-supper, Noah dozed on the settee under the identical comforter she had once enveloped around him. Mia ventured onto the veranda, limbs crossed against the chill, observing the flakes descend. Ethan accompanied her wordlessly. After an extended, hushed instant, he pivoted to her. "Will you accompany me briefly?" She trailed him to the stairs where cozy illumination poured from the lodge behind them. He delved into his overcoat compartment and knelt, not in a magnificent auditorium, but on the precise location where she had once unlocked her entrance to him. He extended a plain metallic band. Within the circle were 6 diminutive phrases, gratitude for unlocking the entrance. His orbs met hers. "I once believed I didn't merit a kin," he uttered quietly. "That what I forfeited couldn't be rediscovered. But you transformed that with your palms, your spirit. You created space for us when nobody else would." Her orbs brimmed. "I won't vow all will be flawless," he continued, "but I vow to perpetually maintain the entrance unlocked for you, for Noah, for whatever we construct jointly." He extended the band, his palm quivering mildly. "Will you unlock it once more? This occasion for eternity." Mia did not respond with phrases. She knelt adjacent to him, encircled her limbs around him, and clung like she had once done with his offspring, not in apprehension, but with affection. A tiny noise disrupted the instant. Noah stood in the threshold, rubbing his drowsy orbs. "Miss Mia, you made Dad grin like the premier evening." Ethan chortled, embracing Mia tighter. She dried her orbs and regarded the boy who had unwittingly linked their existences, then at the man who had ultimately returned home. The flakes persisted descending around them, tender and mute. No vast assembly, no radiant gem, just one entrance once unlocked in a tempest and never sealed anew. Sometimes the most exquisite origins stem from the uncomplicated deed of unlocking an entrance. If this narrative moved your spirit, if it evoked that compassion counts, that affection can emerge quietly, and that fresh opportunities frequently arrive enveloped in flakes and quiet, then we encourage you to join more instances like this.